Hello, I'm Heather, and this is my lovely model, Maya, and I'm going to do a lash lift on her today. This is a thioglycolate formula lash lift, which is also known as a keratin lash lift. If you've been in the industry for any amount of time, you'll know that there are a number of different lash lifts that we can perform. In this lesson, it's going to be the thioglycolate. Now, the beginning steps are all pretty much the same as what I'm doing here, which is isolating the under eye lashes, and then we are going to put silicone shields over the lids and glue the lashes to the silicone shields. So, first step is getting these under eye patches on just so. And I like the silicone shields for this. It kind of looks a little bit fussy at first, but the silicone shields are kind of great because the eye can sit down on top of those without any irritation. And in my second tip here in the next step is I like to use a little bit of paper tape on the lid of the lashes. And this it works nicely because if you see I'm pulling up the brow and I can use the tape to sort of lift up the brow for me a little bit, and you'll see as I go I kind of mess with this a little bit just to make it perfect before we actually get started. So continuing on, we did clean her lashes, but there was a little bit of residue of lash glue, which we all know can be very stubborn. So I just had a little bit of cleanser on that brush when I went in to remove that little bit of glue, just so that we know that the lashes underneath there are not going to be resistant to the glue and the products that we put on in the processing steps. Now at this point, I like to come in and just really make sure that those lashes are really good and clean. So I just have a little bit of micellar formula lash cleanser on this Q-tip, and I'm just going in and giving it one last little clean, making sure that there's nothing in there that's going to interfere with our adhesive or our processing products. And then we are going to use these little mini ones to comb out the lashes, and I like to put a little bit of glue to start right on the silicone shield. Give that a second or two to set up, and then after that we're going to actually put it right on the lashes themselves, just like so. I like to use these interdental picks to comb the lashes up. They're just like a little mini spoolie, so they work perfectly for this. And the idea here is that you want to comb the lashes up onto the shield repeatedly until they are laminated to the shield. This can take a few tries to get right. It never is laminated right on the very first comb up, and you can use this little interdental pick to make sure that your lashes are combed up and spaced nicely. And then I like to also add a little bit more adhesive and continue with the combing. And then also I like to use my tweezers because I'm comfortable with my tweezers, and I can go in and kind of really squish them down once I'm done with the pick. Now it's not easy to see in the video, but the shield was lifting on the other eye here. So I just went in with that glue right underneath and added a little bit more glue. And then now I'm just going to hold that down just a little bit. And also don't forget that we need to angle her face so that she is directly under our line of sight. We don't want to be working by hunching ourselves over from side to side. Now in the last eye, I put the glue onto the shield first and then onto the lid. Doesn't really matter which way you do it, you can do both. So try either or, whichever way works best. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Once you're happy with your glue job, now it's time to go in with your step one or your setting, sorry, not setting, your debonding or your lifting step. And the main thing to take away from this is you really want to be really accurate where you're placing the product. You don't want any to go below that lash line at all into the water line because it could feel burny, and then once that happens they often have a watery eye reaction which dilutes the product and also draws the liquid with the product into their eye. So we don't want them to tear up. So really making sure to avoid getting any product past that water line. Any we don't want to get any of the product also up to the top of the tip of the lashes. We just want to go up to the about halfway up the lashes where we're going to get the most bend in the lash. There's no point in getting that product all the way to the tip of the lashes. Really, it only serves to over process the fragile tips of the lashes and make them look all crunchy and crispy. So again, we're going to go in and get that lash line right, that product right down to the lash line, but not going up past the water line. As soon as you have your product on your first step, on your first eye, you're going to set your timer. Now, Maya's, we timed her for 10 minutes today. I'm editing out all of the processing time so that you don't have to sit through that, but I just want you to know that that's what we do. Now, at this point, you could use some, these are little silicone shields, which I find that I like the most. You can also use saran wrap. I don't use any saran wrap for this particular processing. I do with cysteamine because you need to add heat. But for this one, we don't need to add any heat, so we're going to just use the silicone shields and allow those to process 10 minutes. With a cotton swab Q-tip, come in and remove all of the step 1 formula. I like to swipe a little bit off and then wipe that off on a paper towel, and then with a somewhat cleaner Q-tip come in and swipe off the remainder. And just repeating this process for both sides. Once we've removed the step 1, we're going to come in with our step 2, following the same rules. We don't want the formula to dip below the waterline or go all the way to the tip of the lashes. As soon as you have your first eye completed with a nice even coat, set your timer for 10 minutes, if that's your timing, and get started on the second eye. Once you've got your second eye completed, add your silicone shields over top for the remainder of the time. Sorry for my head here. We just want to make sure that we don't do what I did just there, which is bulge out any of the formula so that it goes past the waterline. So I'm just going to take my little swab and remove that little bit for the remainder of the processing time. Once our time is up, we're going to remove those silicone shields and remove all of the product with the cotton swab, just as I did last time. Remove a little, swipe, take the excess off on a piece of tissue, and just continuing along on both eyes, making sure to give a little bit of a break between the first eye and the second eye to allow for the same processing time. To keep the video shorter, I edited that time out, but we're just continuing along, doing the exact same thing on the other side about a minute later. Now that we have removed step 2, it's time to tint. You might not always offer a tint for every procedure, but in this case, for the purposes of the tutorial, we're going to do it. Even though Maya has naturally black lashes, it's not going to make too much of a difference for her. However, we want to go ahead and do that not only for the purposes of the tutorial, because it also adds that extra oomph, that extra little je ne sais quoi. And that's why we're going to do that for our service today and for any service where we really want to wow that client, which is every service, right? Once we've fully coated the lashes, we're going to process for 5 minutes. More time isn't needed because we've already processed the lashes with the lash lift formulas, and the cuticles will be nice and open and accepting to the additional pigment. So it's a nice quick step. I'm going to edit out the additional time and get right to the removal part where we use the same idea with the Q-tip. We swipe off some of the formula and then swipe that formula that's on our Q-tip off, and then continue that process until we've removed all of the tint. As soon as I have the majority of all of my tint removed, I like to come in with the last step, which is the nutrition step or the conditioning step. And I like to root to tip, get sort of massage it into the lashes, and it's going to help me to also remove the remaining adhesive off of the pad, and so it's going to free the lashes up. Again, we really want to be careful not to get this down past the waterline. I mean, all of the steps we're going to be really careful with. But this is just like the perfect last step to make sure that everything is nice and cleaned up, the lashes are nicely conditioned. You don't have to use any water or anything that could possibly cause extra processing to happen. So this is the great last step, and I really maximize the utilization of the conditioning step to help me get to the finish line on this lash lift. You can already see this lash lift actually turned out pretty good. The lashes are coming free, but they are still kind of sticking up, which is what we want to see. So I'm just going to get the remainder of them off of the pad here and comb out the rest of the product, any glue that's remaining in the lashes. And this is the last part with the tape, which makes life a lot easier. I can just remove that tape right off the eye, and there's no remaining glue that I need to clean up off the lid. So I love using the tape for that reason. So we're just going to repeat that same step on the other side. So once we have all of that removed and the cotton Q-tip is coming up mostly clean, we can finish up by removing any remaining tape, any remaining tint that is on the lids like so, and in through the lash line. Just with that cotton Q-tip will work fine, and also a nice little clean spoolie. Give them a nice clean through one last time. See, her eye was watering a little bit there, so I'm going to take that Q-tip and just make sure that those lashes don't get wet so that we're not processing them a little bit more, because that's how a little bit of damage can happen. We want to keep these dry for 24 hours. And just going in with a little tissue so that you can sop up any of those tears that may be coming out. And just making sure that the formulas are completely off of those lashes and off of the eye area. And just give one final comb through, making sure that there is no more glue stuck to the base of those lashes or anywhere else. I think this is really good. So just as a reminder, here's where we started with Maya, and here's where we ended up. I'm pretty happy with this. Maya has beautiful eyes, and this just turned out perfect on her.